Hi, this is Everett. Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio. Today I'm broadcasting from a studio to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and later on is Instagram, Twitch, and also later on to Instagram. I'm live today in the studio with my wife, Gloria,
Happy Thursday!
and she's ready to go. And I've got the chat room live. So if you have any questions or comments, give me a chat, give me a question, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if this is the first time to visit my studio or my broadcast, make sure you subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and give me a like. Those all help with my rating. I appreciate that. So today I'm going to do a drawing with a pen and ink, and then I'm going to do watercolor on top of that. So it's going to be a colorful sketch, a watercolor sketch with black permanent ink pen. Okay, so let me go over and get started on that. I'll take you to my overhead camera and show you my painting setup. Okay, here's a reference photograph. Last weekend I was out doing my sketching. I found this building, what's so interesting. Interesting shapes, and if you look at the front part of that, look at the brickwork on there. That's really going to be my challenge today, is get the brickwork in, and I'll show you how I do that. But also the little building in the back. So that's kind of the subject today. I'm going to do a drawing, and then we're going to put some watercolor on top of that. So that's the subject today. And over here I've got about 10 by 7.5. Yeah, just a little bigger than that. Yeah, 10 by 7.5 piece of watercolor paper. Gemini 140-pound watercolor paper, which I always do. I'll cut down the size. So it'll turn out to be an 8 by 10 painting when I'm finished. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 2B pencil here, and I'm going to lay out a rough outline of where things are. I'm going to locate the main elements. So I'm going to start here at the rooftop, and I'm going to go up there, and I'm going to draw that angle, and I'm going to rough it in here. I'm going to rough it in. So I'm just going to locate the major elements. I've got one side of the house, one side of the building over here on this side, and let me see. And I got the rooftop over here. It's a little bit it's a little more than 90 degrees, so it's not straight up there. So we'll slope it down. Get that over there. Come on down. Okay. Then there's this sign up here, that square sign. I'm gonna put that rectangle in there. So I'll put it about right there. I'll start here. The rectangle. That's the sign. I changed that from the actual photograph. You'll notice a little bit closer over here than it is on this side, just like the photograph is doing. And then there's another rooftop on the porch here. It comes down. I'll get that, and you'll see the angle. The angle of the rooftop there is a little bit a little more shallow, not as steep as that angle there. Then it's a little shallow right there. So I'll get that angle in, and that comes down about right there. Let's see, I don't want to come that far over. Yeah, let's see. Probably don't want to go that far, though. So that line there won't make any sense. So I'm going to get the front of the porch rooftop right here. Come across. And this will angle down over there. Then I'll get the right side of the building. I'm going to put the right side of the building in over here. And let me get a couple windows. There's a large window here in the front, and let's see. I start here, just on the edge of that square. I'll start edge here, and the top of the window, which is in shadow, but I got to put the top in to give myself a reference point. And then here, it's a little ways in from the edge of that rooftop. and then it comes down about right there, estimating that section. Okay, then there's the doorway. I got a little section here on this side of the doorway, and then the other side is a little bit off center of the sign, a little bit off center of the sign, about right here. That's the doorway, and it comes down. It's below the window. Now the other window on the other side, you can looking at this, not quite to the edge of that, so I'll start over here and come down with that line and over. These two windows are the same shape, same size. Okay, now there's a couple poles here on this rooftop. Let's see. So I'm going to come down right next to the window. This will come over here, so it'll be a white section, and then there's I guess you call it the base of the pole, front porch. It's the porch structure here, and then there's one on the other side. Let's see. Have to move the paper over a little bit. Let's see. Right at the very edge. I'll bring this over here. This is here, and that comes down. It really covers the edge of the building, just about. Yeah, and this will come down straight. Okay, now just to finish off the steps, let's see, kind of here. So this will be about right here. This is the top of the porch. And then there's the doorway comes down to the base. There's a little bottom, little footing to the doorway. Then I have a little edge here. This is going to be a lighter value here. Then there's a step that comes down, one step, and it starts on the edge of the door and goes over to almost the edge of the window. So I'll come over here to the edge of the window. I'm looking at this at an angle, so it's going to not be exactly in the center. And then we go down to the parking area here, which is a black asphalt parking lot. Okay, then there's a little ramp off here to the side, small ramp. So I'm going to come down on that. And it goes straight out. That's not very important, but it's just a little ramp structure. It comes out here. That's a little building in the back. I'm going to estimate the distance there. It's close by. And the peak of the roof goes about to the edge of the eave over here. And then the angle of the roof. I'm going to estimate that also. Estimate the angle. And the other angle over here. So I'm just kind of roughing in the shapes. Let's see, and there's on this roof there's a window right here, right in about middle of the way of the roof there. So there's a window closed in. And the doorway comes over just to the right of that, a peak there. And then the doorway is just slightly higher than the window, just an idea. Then it comes down. Now this, the bottom here is further back. So there's the bottom of the building here, small building. And this will come down here, about to here, and that'll be an edge. Okay. All right. So there's the drawing. I'll show you. There's my it's a light drawing, so I can get the major elements of the building and the sizes and so forth. Okay. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some ink pen down here. So I'm going to draw in the outline of what I want to put in. Oh, also I want to make sure there's a little roof, a little dormer over here on the top. So I'll put that in. It gives me a little different angle, a little different This goes back here and it comes down. There. That makes that little side look different from this side. And the trees and so forth, I can add those in later, but right now I just want to get the main elements of the building itself. Okay, let's see. Structure-wise, yeah, it's a little bit off over here. See, so this doesn't sit right in the middle because when I took the photographs off to the side, so it's a little bit off of center. All right, now I've got the black ink pen with permanent ink. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to follow my lines that I did here. And I'm going to hold the pen back about halfway, not up very tight. And I'm going to draw this like I would a pencil. And very carefully get a straight line. Now I'm going to turn the paper so I get the other side. The other rooftop. Edge of the roof. Okay. Then I'm going to get that sign in. Straight line. I'm following my drawing, a pencil drawing. Gives me the size and the location. But I'm drawing a straight line with the pen. And I'll get this other rooftop in here. This rooftop comes down over here. And then the front of it, the front of that porch roof is right here. Okay, now there's a window there also at the top, so let me see. It's just about here. I'm going to go ahead and put this in. It's about right here. I'll go ahead and put the window in. It's about here, and here, here, and there. So there's a top window up there in the center. Okay, now now I'm going to go ahead and just copy my lines now. I've got them set up here, so we'll go ahead and use the lines as my guidance. I'll bring this down. These two front windows. And I got the doorway. Bring that down. Get the width of it. Okay. And then this side over here there's a little more gap on this side of the doorway. If you look at the photograph, this is small and this is a little bit larger over here, the gap between the window and the door, which is what I want to show. Bring this down. So this outline is going to give me the outline of the structure, and which is really the main elements. Let's see what else I need to get in there. The posts are good. Let's see. So I need to get the post in. I'll bring this down here. This one over these white posts in the front. And I'm going to shift that. I'm going to shift that drawing over just a little bit, away from the window. Bring it on down. Okay. Then the other side, I'm going to bring that. I'm going to bring that in here. And get that other structure on this side, the base of those poles, front porch, the front porch poles that's holding the porch up. Okay, now we get that front step. We got the base of the porch, which is right here. This is the porch area, a straight line, and the thickness of that. Then the front step, there's the front step here, steps up. onto the porch. That's all I need there. And then I'll indicate the base of the building here, the base here at the bottom of the steps. That's enough of that. Then over here, I'm going to come off on this side, and this is the base of the ramp on the left side over there. It's a ramp. So this starts out here, and it goes up slightly up to the base of the. Now I got this side of the wall over here. Okay, and the dormer up the top. Get the roof and the edge and the side. Okay, and this little building out here very quickly. You get the right side of it. Just verticals. There's a doorway, the edge of the window, and the other side over here. Okay, now I'll do the horizontals. I'll do the window, the doorway, the base. Now I'll get the rooftop in. To the right, and I get the roof. Now I'll turn the page slightly so I get the other side. Okay. Okay. That's got me into the. Now what I'm going to do now is take my eraser here and erase some of the pencil marks. Just a little bit. They're going to be covered up with watercolor anyway, but just to get some of the parts away. Okay. All right. Let me see if I got everything on. I got the rooftop, the window there, here. Got the two windows here, the doorway. So that's the basic structure. Okay, now the other thing, which was the challenge, which I talked about in the very beginning, is to look at this brickwork. So what I'm going to do is I'll look at it again. You see the brickwork? They're irregular. They're regular. Look like they're brickwork with lots of divisions inside. So how I'm going to do that now is I'm going to draw in some irregular shapes. Draw in some irregular shapes, and then I'm going to do another technique with this, with masking fluid. I'm going to put masking fluid on this. But I'm not going to show, I'm not going to do everything on this. I want it to be enough to indicate how it can be done. Now up here is the rooftop. I'll put that in. It's going to stay white, with the white trim. I'll rough that in with a pencil. So I'm writing here. I'm using a pencil to mark off some irregular shapes, which is what you see there in the photograph. And they're not all the same. They're all different angles, which I thought was very interesting. That's what attracted me to this building, was the interesting shapes. But just put enough around here to indicate what's there. It's some kind of a structure. I guess it's brickwork, irregular bricks. I've seen these on bridges and older buildings and so forth. Now down here on the side, these are interesting. These are a little bit bigger down here. If you look at this side, this window right here next to the door, these are kind of straight, but they're different sizes. And the side over here has got more, a little bit more, because it's wider. I'll make enough of these to get a nice, interesting design going on here. make them irregular shapes. None of them are basically none of them are the same. This is all going to be in shadow, so I'm not really too. This is also going to be shadow over here, but I can put a few lines in there just to have a mark or two. Okay, all right. So I made some. I just made some indications there, some lines, just irregular brickwork here on the front of this building here. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some masking fluid on. Now, what I've got here. I usually use, in my masking, I usually use the Incredible Nib, but see the point comes to a point, but I'm finding out that this is a little bit too wide to cover these small areas. So I've gone ahead to another tool, which is a toothpick, just a wooden toothpick. Now this is the Holbein watercolor masking fluid, and it's very good. These bottles here are in my inventory, and I really recommend it. This stuff is really good. And what I've done is I poured it into a little small container so I can handle it much easier. And I just put a few drops of water in there to kind of not liquefy, but kind of spread it out. Now what I'm going to use now, I'll use the toothpick, just dip it in there. And I'm going to go over here now. I'm going to go ahead and mark these lines off. And what I'm going to do, I'm probably not going to do all of them, but I'm going to do enough of them so they show up. And it's just like any kind of brickwork. Once you have enough of them defined, the eye will make the viewer will already indicate what they are. I'm using the side of this toothpick here to get the movement, and I rinse it out in water a little bit. So because I'm working with liquid masking fluid will dry on this wood just like it would on your brush. So you got to keep the toothpick wet so that the masking fluid will not stick to the wood but stay there moist. Okay, now I think I'll move down here and get a few on this side. Again, I'm going to have just enough on here to indicate the shapes here, and I'll let it dry. I'll let this dry while I paint the rest. I can paint around everything here while this is drying. So I'm not losing time on this. It just takes a little time because of all these little places I'm trying to, and you can get as much detail. Let me bring this up to you, what I've done so far. You can see here I've put the masking fluid up here in the top area, and I've masked out those lines. And I've just picked out a few, probably half of them. And I'm going to go down here to the front part of the building, which is a little more important. I'll put a few of them in here. This is where they'll show off a little better in this section. And I'm making each division area here different size. Now, if you had tried this with a toothbrush, you'd have to rinse out your brush about every 2 or 3 strokes. You don't want that fluid to get into your brushes. So it's better to use something like this, a toothpick or something that is small enough to get along. Say these lines here are very small. I'm using the side of the toothpick to get those divisions in there, those lines. I'll put a few more over here. This is probably the most important part of the building right here in the front. So here I'll take a little more time and a little more accuracy in what I want to show. But this is the most effective way I've found about putting down something like this into a painting and have control. I'm rinsing this out. Every three or four of these I do, I rinse out the toothpick, keep it wet, moist. Wipe it off on a paper towel. So this is working pretty good. As I say, I diluted I used my spray bottle, my palette in a bottle, Everett Watercolors palette in a bottle, dot sprayer. I used that, which is sold exclusively on Everett Watercolors. I used a couple of squirts of that in here just to thin out the masking fluid. The masking fluid can be a little bit thick when you take it out of the bottle, and so I just diluted it slightly with water, because this is water soluble. The nice thing about this masking fluid is it's made for watercolor. That's why it's called watercolor masking fluid. I'm trying to make these in the front here a little more defined, because that's the part that's going to show up the most. Then I can do a little more over here on this side. This is a bigger side, so I'll do more over here too. Rinse out the toothpick. So I think you'll see when this is dried, and when I paint over it, you'll see the effect. You'll see the effectiveness. It's very effective, and it really gives you a nice pattern and a good way to control the masking fluid. So we're trying to put it in specific spots and try to indicate. And the fact that this is an irregular shape too. It's not it's not symmetrical or anything. It's just these are bricks put on with an irregular pattern, which makes them interesting. We're going to put some more lines up here. And once you see one line, you'll see them all. Put a few over here. I left this one blank over here, so I'm going to put just a few lines over here just to indicate that it's a continuation of the same marks over here. Okay, I think that'll be enough, I think, to show what I want to do. Let me go across here. Showing where all these bricks, where the bricks are located on this particular structure. Okay, I think that's enough. So I had to go to my toothpick. Now let me show you. Now that's all the masking fluid on the front of the building. Okay, and those are going to be white lines when we take them off. So I want to do is close up my cap, and this will stay pretty good. This will stay pretty well, and I can use that again in the future. You don't want to waste your material, so you can save the masking fluid. And I'm wiping off the toothpick here. Alright, so now I'm going to get my watercolors ready, and we're going to keep this a very simple composition here. I'll open my palette here, and we'll take my flat brush. I think I'll start out with this little yellow building over here. So I'll start with a yellow building. So I'm going to put a little bit of yellow ochre, and maybe a little bit of burnt sienna mixed in there, just to get a nice brownish yellow. Then I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And I'm not going to follow the actual colors of the photograph. I'm just going to come up with my own But I think a light color over here would be okay. And that way I don't just have one building in the painting, I have two. There's two buildings, I mean two objects. So it's not all, it's one building, it's not all by itself. Okay. All right, and I can also put that same color. I can also put up here on the sign, light brown. And you'll notice in my photograph, I have it's a light brown. I didn't have to use that, but a light brown color on the sign for the building. So this 1/2-inch brush from Holbein, 1/2-inch flat, and let that dry. Okay, now I can start working a little bit on the background. And what I'm going to do is put a little bit of green back there. So green number 1. A little bit of Hooker's green, a little bit of combination there, and I'll mix on a little bit of blue. That's Ultramarine Deep. So I always mix my greens. I don't use the same green out of the palette. I mix them up with another color. Gives me a variety. I might even put a little bit of yellow over here. Just pick a little bit of yellow lemon. Mix up those greens a little bit. Okay. Then I go back here now and go ahead and start putting in some. So this is a mixture of greens. And again, I'm not worried about I'm not worried about mapping the color of the photograph. I'm just putting in color that I like. And I might get a little bit darker on the green over here. So add a little bit of blue to that mixture. And I'm going to paint around the edge of this. So there's a white top to this, so I'll just leave a little edge for white on the edge of the building here. Leave it white. Come down the other side, leave a white edge. And then come down the side of the building. And over here I can paint this in because it's not interfering with the building I just did. I just put the masking fluid. It's not interfering with that at all. I just go right along the edge. There we go. Okay. I'll pick up a little more blue. I think I'll put some more a darker value in there, especially here in between it is in shadow. And I'll clean up this edge a little bit, use the flat side of the brush. Make a nice straight edge here with the flats. Yeah, with a flat you can get a nice straight edge with a flat just by using the sharpness of the brush. You shape that into a nice square. Okay. And again, that's just going to be trees back there. We're not going to be worried too much about them. And so this is giving me time. The masking fluid will take about 5 minutes to dry. So I've got plenty of time here. It'll be dry by the time, way before I get this done part. I'm just going to put a little bit of tree action back here. Get that green around the top of that rooftop, and get some more green in here. Mix a little bit of brown in there, get some color into those trees. And get some edges. I'll use the edge of the brush with the edge of a tree. And come down the other side. On the edge of the rooftop. Put a little more greenery over here, loosen up that color just a little bit. Over here, pick up a little more of that brown. Okay, now I'll turn the painting around here so I can get the edge of the building here. So we'll come up here using the edge of the brush, the corner of the brush, to get that sharp corner. Using the edge of the brush to paint that flat side. Okay. Let's see what I can do here. Use a little bit of this here. No, it's not working. This side of the building over here. A little darker, still more shadow here on the edges, on the sides. So I'll put a little more blue into the mix.
The simplicity of the color mixture is very effective.
Yes. Yeah, don't get too complicated with your colors, but you want to keep them variable. You don't want to have the pure color out of the palette. You want to mix that color with something else to make it look a little more natural. We're not going to get carried. I just want to get a background there behind the building to set it off. Okay, I think now a couple of places I wanted to also add some texture into here is these poles. Now I forgot to put those in there. The poles here in the front is holding up the white pole. We'll put couple bricks on these also. And all I'm doing is going to put a few lines in here just to show there's that same kind of structure on those areas there. Okay, we can let that dry. And wipe off my toothpick. Okay, now I'm ready to paint the building. So what I'm going to do is get rid of the green. I don't want any green in here, so I'll wipe out the green. Then I'm going to put green in the background. So the building itself is going to have kind of a grayish and a little bit of gray, but it's going to have, I'm going to use a little bit of Ultramarine Blue, mix up a gray with burnt sienna. It'll be a light gray, as dark as I want it, with a little bit of Ultramarine Blue in there, get a little darker. Have a little brown into it, a little more blue. I'm trying to get like a medium value here. But I want a mixture. I don't want the same color. I want a variable color because the bricks are all variable color, browns and gray and a little bit of light blue, not blue, but darker color. Remember, watercolor dries a lot lighter, so you need a mix of color that's going to at least dry. Now I'm going to put a little bit of yellow ochre down here as another part of the mix. Give me a light brown mixed in with a burnt sienna. Okay, alright, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and start painting out. I'm going to use the same brush. I've used one brush the whole painting, so this 1/2 inch flat Holbein brush. Synthetic, but it does a good job. So I'm going to color the bricks in now. I'm going to leave, there's a white boundary or a white edge on this rooftop, so I'm going to leave that up there. And I'm going to mix in the different browns. I got brown, light brown, dark brown. I have a gray. So it's going to be a combination of different colors. Now this post here is white up in the front. And we'll leave that alone. Add a little darker value down here, around this section. So the masking fluid is completely dry. And in fact, these two last ones here I'll put in last, but they'll be dry by the time I get there. So I'm going to go around this window up here. I'm going to leave the edge white, the white trim. Yeah. Put a little bit darker value here. Actually, that's going to be lighter value anyway, so I'll put the lighter value here. I'll put a darker value next to the sign, looking for contrast. When I have a light area, I'm going to put a dark area next to it, so it shows a little bit better. When you have dark next to light, it makes it easier to see. Then I'll come down here and changing colors, picking up a little lighter blue, a little lighter brown here in the foreground, in the front part. And I'll pick up some dark. Okay, now this is going to be in shadow here anyway. I'm going to go ahead and put some paint in there, but it's going to be in shadow because it's under that little roof. The porch roof has got overhang here, so that's going to be in shadow. But I'm going to put the color in there anyway as a base. Let's get it started. And I come down here next to the window. And over here next to this other window. Okay. All right. Let's see. I've got to get some darks in here. In front of the step. There's a white step, so we'll leave the step white. White stone or something, white brick. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put in these front walls. Now, these are dry now, so I'm going to go ahead and paint these in, these little bases to the poles there. Okay. All right, now the rooftop itself on the porch is dark, so I'm going to make a dark mix of ultramarine and cobalt. No, ultramarine and burnt sienna. I'm going to add a little bit of Payne's gray here. Make it a darker mix. Rooftops. So this part here is going to be a dark color. This is the rooftop of the porch. I'm using the same brush, but I'm using the corners right here on a tight spot. I use the corner of the brush. So I'm using it just like a round brush now, using the corner of the brush to get into those tight spots. I use the side of the brush to get the edges. Gives me a nice sharp edge. And the flatness of the brush gives me that area to get into. Then over here again, I'm using the corner of the brush on the side, right here, to get that little tight spot. And this little tight spot here, little corner. Use the corner of the brush, side of the brush, edge of the brush. All does its job. Okay. All right, now I'm going to put the windows in. Now, one up there. I use that same rooftop. Now, the Dover up here has a top to it, a rooftop. Put that black roof color on there, on the shingles. The edge. And then I'll put, let's see, I think I'll probably put, well, I'll put a little bit darker. I'll put a little bit of darker side on this over here. This side of this dormer. Again, it's going to show off against that white edge. Okay. All right. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to color in the windows. I'm going to use Cerulean Blue. Use blue. I'm going to use that in two places. I'm going to go up to the sky. So we'll finish this off. We'll do the sky and then we'll do the windows. We'll use a Cerulean Blue. Sky color. And there was a blue sky on that photograph I took, so that makes it appropriate. And come right down into the green. So there'll be no white showing. You have all the colors covered up. And this section over here will be also cerulean blue sky. Now come right down into the greenery. Right down into the greenery. Because blue and green will go together very nicely. Green has got blue in it, so you're not really harming anything. There, got that. And I think I'll take a little darker blue, a light blue. Let's say that's up here. This window in the top is in sunlight, so we can use a light blue up here. Up there in that section. But the windows, you can see in the photograph, the windows are in shadow, so they're going to be dark. They're shaded, so I'm going to put a darker blue up there, a darker blue on the windows. So I'm going to use ultramarine blue, and I'll make it pretty thick because it's make it a nice dark color. I'll go ahead and put that in. So it'll be ultramarine blue on the windows. Again, I'm using the same brush, it's a 1/2 inch flat from Holbein. It's a synthetic brush, but it does a great job. Synthetic brushes are fantastic. But for this kind of work here, and also this size of painting, it'll be 8.5 painting, is you don't need large brushes, but a couple good small brushes is all you need. And I decided today not to use the brown. I didn't need to use the round brush. Just use the flat brush to do all the, because the shapes are pretty simple. They're square or angled, so the flat brush can do a good job on that. And let me get the doorway here. Now I'm going to forget to trim on that because I'm just going to make it solid all the way down. But I'll leave the step white. I think the white there, I think, would show up okay. I'm going to leave it as white. Now down here in the bottom is going to be asphalt. So I'm going to just use a dull gray, which is going to be mainly Payne's gray. So asphalt down here on the parking lot area. And go right across here. Make this whole area's parking lot area is all asphalted in. Right up to the back of this little shed back here, a little barn or something, little storage shed. Okay, now let me dry this a little bit because I want to put some color on that ramp. Okay, so now we'll put the blow dryer on. I'll dry off his edges around here. Now what I do is I take off any moisture I can see on the edges so they don't lead back into the painting. So I'm drying this area right here because I want to go back in with some color on top of this. And some color there for the shadow. Okay, that's dry. That little Ranger does a good job on drying fast. So I'm going to use some of that black, dark gray that I used on the building. Put in here on the ramp. Using the edge of the brush again, the edge, corners. Okay, now what I want to do now is just mix up a little bit of shadow color, which is going to be ultramarine blue and a little bit of burnt sienna, kind of a gray shadow. It's going to have more blue in it. So blue shadows have blue or purple in them, so they're kind of. So up here underneath this eave here. Now what I want to do before I do that, yeah, okay, got to take off the white mask. So let me dry. Make sure it's dry. Make sure that before you take the wet masking fluid off, you got to make sure your painting is dry, completely bone dry. Okay, so now what I use, this is called a rubber cement pickup, which comes with the in my art supplies. You can get this along with the masking fluid. But here I'm just using a little bit of rubbing on the edge, and I rotate the rubber cement pickup in my hand, rotate it around so I get a different angle or a different side. And you can see here now it's taking off that masking fluid very nicely. And then I run my hand over the edge to see if now you run my right hand's here, my left hand run over the edge to see if I picked up all the masking fluid. And you'll feel the roughness on your fingers to check to see the masking fluid has been removed. Okay. All right. Well, that turned out to be a watercolor sketch with ink pen to give me the design that I wanted to see. And let's see, I can take my pen again and maybe go back and do a little bit of touch up here on some of the edges. Not too much, because it looks pretty good. Okay. Well, I used the masking fluid. Now you can see the design on that building. Now, you try to paint each one of those bricks individually, and it would be a nightmare. So the only way to do that is like I did here. I masked out some of the lines between the bricks or between the brickwork, and then I painted over top the masking fluid, and then removed the masking fluid to give me a nice design. Now, what I would do in the future, if something like this, I would take a lot more time to put those in a little better or whatever, but I think you get the idea of how it can be done using masking fluid to mask out the white lines. Okay, so what I want to do now is put in the shadow here. There's a shadow here under the edge of this eave, so I'll put that in. It'll give a little more dimension. Shadows always give a little more dimension to a painting. It shows the depth. So I'm adding a little bit of shadow here to these eaves, where the sun is shining on top of this building. And then one other place where there's a shadow is underneath this porch. And so it goes down just past the windows a little bit. So that'll give me a shadow pattern across the top here, underneath the rooftop of the porch. This shelter, okay? And then I'll go all the way out to the back, all the way out to the edge, okay. And I think there'll be a little bit across this little post here. The post, and there. Okay. Now I wanted to do that after I got the masking fluid off, because I wanted to put a little bit of paint on those white lines that I had already done. Okay, and the only other thing, I guess that's going to be it. I think there could be a little shadow down here at the base of the porch, just to give a little more. This just goes further back toward the steps. Where you step into the building. I'll put a little shadow there at the bottom. Okay. And the last thing I want to do is I want to put a title up here. So I'm just going to call. I just made up a name. Hair salon. And that's what I did. Just made it up. That's what I called it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to my main camera. Okay, that concludes my demonstration today of ink and watercolor sketch using a black ink pen with the permanent ink, because otherwise the ink would spread, and then defining the areas with watercolors. So an ink and watercolor sketch. I really love doing those. Now, if the windows might be a little bit dark in there, but if you look at the photograph, they were dark also. You could not see through them. They were already blocked out. So I think the color I used was fine. I wanted to identify that. And the brickwork using the masking fluid, that's a good technique, and I think you ought to try that. So, and for a fine point there, you have to find something like a toothpick or something that makes it easier for you to put it in small spaces. All right, so that's the conclusion for today's demonstration. I'll be back again next Thursday at 2 o'clock p.m. With another demonstration. And I'm on tonight at 7:30 p.m. with Simply Drawing with Everett. So I hope you join me then. And then over the weekend, I'll have a short video with anyone can draw with one line only. So we'll all see you next week. See you on the live. And you all take care. See you on the next live video. Bye.